A very pleasant good afternoon as we welcome you into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show on a Thursday afternoon as we head even hurtle toward another busy sports weekend and, of course, another week to get ready for the first playoff game for the Nittany Lions and the first four on-site games in college football playoff history. I'm looking forward to all of that. We'll certainly talk some more about that as the show unfolds today. A couple of things with Penn State SMU, Goon, that I think, again, we talked a little bit about the finals week component, all of the other things going on. One of the things that I was listening to Joe Lednowski a little bit, who precedes us here on Sports Radio 98.7, The Fox. His show runs noon to 2, Monday through Friday. And I was listening to him talking about the transfer portal and all of the things involved there and where Penn State's trying to, supplement and some of the concerns that they have in terms of keeping guys on, quarterback situation in the future. And every now and then there will be fans, we both hear from them, and it's derisively, Franklin's a CEO. And it's like, yep, and that's what you need as a football coach. And more so, I think it is just readily apparent now, Goon, because again, you have all of these moving parts going on at the same time that you are trying to get ready for the biggest game of the season, and then hopefully an even bigger game 2 weeks after that, and then hopefully and right on down the line. Well, if you're not a CEO, if you don't have the ability to hire good people to take care of different elements. And yes, you've got to be the person that is ultimately responsible, that's in charge, that's aware of what's going on. But again, you have to have people that are reaching out on your behalf. I mean, there's only 24 hours in the day. And if you're getting ready for this SMU game, you're scouting them, you're getting the game plan in place for your team, you're talking to the players. They were which I hadn't really even thought about, but it makes sense. It's like, they're having those conversations this week with the players on this year's team as they're getting ready for the playoffs about, hey, this is where we see you fitting in or not fitting in next season. Well, because if you don't have the discussions now, you're going to have them during game week and finals week. You're going to pull it. By the way, we don't see you fitting in here really big picture. No, you're not doing that next week. And I can argue how much better it is doing it this week with, again, final week of classes. But, I mean, the conversations have to be had, and the semester is coming to an end. You're dealing with the situation that you are. So, you better have somebody that is a manager and that really – has trustworthy people in the different roles within the organization to kind of help handle all of this, because it is more now than it's ever been, as we've discussed many times.
Yeah, I mean, you're sitting there and we're going through their hard choices our coaches are having to make right now. And I don't know how we're doing it, but there is speculation that not here. I've heard of other schools that they're going to say 40 people, here's what we're going to do. This is your money next year. Do you want it? And there's a list of 40 more people after that, right? And then after that, they'll fill in the roster from there, from the transfer portal and whatnot. But what you're saying is people are having those hard conversations with these players right now. And that's what it is. It is a horribly hard conversation with a guy who, say, 2 years ago, you were all over. He's a 4-star recruit. And now you're talking to him before the biggest game of his career next Saturday. Probably hasn't touched the field all year, and you're going to say, hey, it might be time for you to move on. Now you're going to tell me that's going to inspire that kid next week for practice?
I hear you.
It's horrible. I didn't think about this.
Yes,
Who made this
I
point?
didn't either until I was. Well, they were talking about it on the
That's a hell of a point, man.
Show coming in.
Yeah, and again, don't take what I just said. That's how Penn State did, because I have zero idea how Penn State is doing their. Are they keeping their top 40? Or I mean, the one report came out that Franklin told his assistants hit that transfer portal hard.
Well, and again, there's just so many moving parts. So one of the things, and I actually one of the things that now is happening. So the scholarships are going up to 105. But you're not having the walk-ons, or Penn State was calling them run-ons. But if you're on the roster, you're getting a scholarship, and you're not having non-scholarship roster players.
Do you have an idea why did they do that? Is there a logical explanation? I'm sure that there is.
Well, the NCAA
said no more walk-ons.
Correct. So everybody is a scholarship player, and that's in all of these sports. That's not football only. So one of the things, though, and again, I just triggered as I'm listening to them. They were talking about the quarterback situation and Grunkenheimer and what or Grunkenmeyer. I keep mixing that one up. But what everybody seems very high on him. Obviously, Bo Prabula. And and Drew Aller is going to have a decision to make here at the end of the season as well. And there's going to be an ongoing discussion, I'm sure, internally about all of that. Here is one of the things. So you're thinking, well, I've been thinking to myself, all right, well, with 105 scholarships, clearly you're always going to be trying to keep 5 or 6 quarterbacks. Well, yeah, good luck with that, because guys aren't in this day and age. You are not wanting to be a 4th, 5th, or 6th string quarterback, with rare exceptions. If you are a really good quarterback, right, at the collegiate level. So, now listen, I think most of these schools are going to go get they will have a 4th or a 5th quarterback, but the idea, I mean, Franklin has talked about, they try to bring a quarterback in every class. The idea being like a quarterback that can compete and be, at least in theory, as you're bringing him out of high school, somebody that you think could be your number one. Well, if you have a number one that's going into his 2nd or 3rd year, you're likely not getting that caliber of quarterback. And even with the transfer portal, and maybe even more so with the transfer portal, again, you're not getting those 4 and 5 guys that will fill in, that are guys that, again, man, if we get injuries to those first 3 guys, and I think that's going to be the general rule in college football, and it's why we've already seen so much movement at the quarterback spot. Is again, if you're proving yourself, the bigger programs then are going to want you, and likely with the NIL money involved now and all of that, you're going to want to, hey, yeah, let's go see if I can do what Dylan Gabriel's doing with Oregon this year, and go down the long list. So it is going to be interesting to see with the 105 scholarships. I think everybody's thinking, oh man, this is great. Everybody's just going to stockpile talent. I don't know that even at those top programs, you're actually going to be able to stockpile talent. Again, they're going to have the 105 scholarships, but I think those last 20 or so are still going to go to guys that would be walk-on type of players that we think of now, which are very important to your program. And every now and then you're going to get that guy, oh man, well, this guy, yeah, lo and behold, we found a 2-year starter here, but that's going to be very much the exception rather than the rule. So I don't know. I guess the point being that you're not going to get just a roster full of 4- and 5-star recruits because
You could.
it's just not
Tough
the way.
maintaining them for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
That's
You're
when
not,
we're
you're
done.
not going to. You're not going to have a roster
Don't.
with that anymore. Well, maybe I don't.
You know, if the number is what they're saying is a $20 to $22 million in profit sharing for the teams, and that's 75%, I believe, is what they're saying. It's going to go to the football players. You're over $150 a player if they're paying them equal. And I don't know if that's the plan or not, or if a 5-star top kid coming in is going to get $300,000 a year, and somebody else, a lesser known guy. But again, you're only allowed to have 105 guys. Are they allowed to say you can get this much more money because this is a profit share versus an NIL? I don't think that's true. I think the profit share has to be equal top to bottom, I think. But you're talking about, we're talking $600,000 a year for a 4-year player now, Jeff, before they can go out and get after their name and them NIL deals. I mean, wow. Yes, but keeping and maintaining, obviously, that's what we've always said from the start is. But I'll go back to our original point, and that is I've always said the transfer portal is, I believe, and the only way I do trust and believe it is that you get one attempt. If your coach leaves, you get a second attempt. But I do believe it is a quarterback-driven thing. I always think that in regards to, because I've said before, a tight end can become an offensive lineman. A linebacker can become a defensive end. A safety can become a linebacker. You can find positions, but a quarterback's only got one position out there, and you're only allowed to play one. So I understand movement and stuff like that with the quarterbacks.
Yep.
With that said, I hate the 3-4 stops. I mean, I don't know if I sent you that picture yesterday. Utah's quarterback, Cam Rising.
Yeah.
You know what high school recruiting class he came out with? At a same high school recruiting class. It's amazing. Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
he has another year left too.
Yeah.
Cam Rising is playing again next year for Utah. Jeff, I can't find. I can find a red shirt, a COVID, and a medical red shirt. But there's still more.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're coming from. Multiple medical red shirts.
Awesome.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But again, I guess we have to say this every show. I would not want to have Pat Graff's job. I would not want to have James Franklin's job. Well, just because of this. I mean, yeah, you're talking about James Franklin. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. This is a monster game for him and his reputation and his program. And
not
he's
only
dealing with this week. He has to. You have to deal with it this week because the transfer portal is open. These kids need to know because they're done school this week. And they need to know where they're going to school next month. And I may have mentioned it Tuesday, but I had a horrible feeling in my head this weekend. And that is, are you allowed to play transfer portal guys in a national title game because it's the next semester?
No.
But
would be interesting.
But that would be a classic, we didn't think about that. We just said, you know what, the NIL is the NIL. You're having guys who don't have class. You know, Nick Dawkins, Tyler Warren are both college graduates as of this weekend. They are done. They do not have classes next semester. And if they go to the national title game, they're just going to be professional athletes. It's going to be great. But just a different world, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so many different components here. I want to just talk a little bit about the opportunity, though, here for James Franklin and Penn State. And I guess we'll start with worst case scenario. And if Penn State were to go out and lose to SMU, Goon, to me, all of the goodwill over the last 3 years is gone in one game. Would that be fair? Nope. It wouldn't. I mean, it really wouldn't. What Penn State has done under James Franklin in these last 3 seasons is the envy of, again, 90 to 95% of college football. They have not lost a game that, wasn't a legitimate toss-up or they were the underdog in. And they have had big game opportunities, and I haven't come up with the win against the Michigans or the Ohio States or this year now Oregon, but man, they have been really good, really consistently over the last 3 years. But the whole reason you want to have the home playoff game is, hey, that's an advantage. You win that home playoff game. And Penn State is a substantial favorite and will be an even bigger favorite if it beats SMU to beat Boise State. The early projections are it's like an 11.5 point
Is it really?
favorite that the Nittany Lions would be over Boise State. So really, for as much talk as we had, and understandably and rightfully so in my mind, that, hey, Penn State has to get to the playoffs this year. Again, I'm not saying James Franklin's in danger of losing his job if they don't beat SMU, but I am telling you, the perception within that locker room
There will be a lot of
and
lost
within
love.
the fan base is going to be this season was for naught.
Just go on social media. Every time they mention James Franklin, people just start hammering.
To a large degree, the last 3 years will be for naught. Like, it's going to be very hollow, very empty, that first playoff.
But you can see where he would be upset with that, but you can also see where the fans are upset. I mean, it's this unprecedented and unlike marked territory to have somebody who has not had a top 5 victory since 2000. But I don't get that, because that's the stat somebody sent me today. But I was like, well, what was Ohio State rank when we beat them? They were top 5, right?
I'd have to go back and look. So when you look at the opportunity here, though, and I'll use the word opportunity, but so Penn State, if it beats SMU and beats Boise State, and again, Penn State is a prohibitive favorite in both games, then you're in the Final Four, and then to some degree you're playing with house money. But are you? Because one of the things, I mean, James Franklin has said he wants to win a national championship. Like, that is a definitive goal for himself and for this program. You don't know when these opportunities, I mean, obviously you're hoping that, next year Penn State could be right back in the mix, and they could be. But as we talk about in the NFL all the time, things change, and now they can change more quickly and more unexpectedly than ever in college football. You're presuming that some guys are going to be back, that some guys probably aren't. You don't know. Nobody knows with any certainty. Drew Aller, could he go to the NFL? Of course he could. Could he come back? Yeah. And I've seen some analysts that are saying, he would really do himself well to come back. Bunch of other players in that. I mean, presumably Abdul Carter's gone, but he does have the option. Nicholas Singleton. So you have the NFL considerations. Then you have the transfer portal considerations. You have incoming transfer portal considerations, which could impact what different players on the current roster are thinking. So bottom line is, you don't know. Could Penn State be right back in the thick of it next year? Yep. Or could Penn State fall off substantially? Sure. And again, all of that is possible. Because of all of that, and because of what we saw in that Oregon game, Goon, to me, this just feels like such an opportunity here for Penn State. Because, again, heavy favorites over SMU, and it's a home game. You have SMU coming into Beaver Stadium. Like, you have to win that game. You just do. If you do that, and then you beat a Boise State team that's going to be a double-digit underdog to you, again, a game that on paper, for whatever that's worth, you should win, and Penn State has won those games all the time over the last 3 years. That's just what Penn State does. That gets you to the semifinals, and again, on one hand, I'm going to tell you at that point, objective accomplished. Hard for me to imagine how you would define this as anything but a successful season. But you then have either a Georgia team that everybody agrees is not one of the great Georgia teams. Everybody also agrees
they're handicapped.
A dangerous team nonetheless. And yes, without their starting quarterback. So you either have that Georgia team, which talk about an opportunity to change the narrative. So again, different ways to define pressure, but I do think there would be pressure there on James Franklin. Are you ever going to win one of these games? If not there against this Georgia team, and again, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. I understand. That's the beauty of talk. We can just blab away. But what an opportunity if that were to be the opponent for James Franklin and Penn State to change that narrative. Paul Feinbaum has anointed Kirby Smart the greatest coach in college football. What? Big game James beat him? Whoa! Paul Feinbaum's head would explode. I don't know what he would do. I want to see it. But if not Georgia, either Indiana or Notre Dame. Again, Penn State would go in with no fear of either of those teams. I think, hopefully, a healthy amount of respect, because I think both of those teams, I think that's the most intriguing game for me. I think Ohio State, Tennessee is getting national attention as the most intriguing first-round matchup. I think that Indiana-Notre Dame game is fascinating to me, Goon, and I'm really curious to see how both of those teams play that one out.
I did see. I got to get it off my chest. I said that there was another talk radio show talking about the prices of tickets. You know what the Notre Dame average ticket is available?
No,
over $1,000. We're $133.
Yeah,
I paid $200 each for mine.
Yeah,
so they're actually below market value right now. Whatever. I mean,
but again, I mean,
that
it's
is
State. It's the hot story in Indiana.
And they were also talking about how it's sort of easy to get to Notre Dame versus getting to State College, Pennsylvania. And then Indiana fans, well, I'm saying I meant sort of SMU.
Okay, I got you.
For Indiana fans to get to Notre Dame Stadium, it's like, whoa. It's like, this is their once in a lifetime. This is their Boise State type of career year type of thing. So they're gonna chase them. So I get that one, but I'm telling you, and I know we will talk about it more next week, but you mentioned the Ohio State, Tennessee. And we talked about it last week and on Tuesday about a little bit like the home team might get a little bit of pressure. You know, if SMU comes out and starts working us and this and that, I think our fans might get a little frustrated and start booing like they did against Ohio State. With that said, if Ohio State does not come out and take care of Tennessee early, those fans for sure will turn on Ryan Day. I mean, absolutely turn on Ryan Day and that team with boos and just being frustrated, yelling and screaming to the point where Tennessee may go in there and take that game because Ohio State will be that frustrated and their fans will just be turning on their players. The players will be turning on the fans type of thing. Scary stuff that could go on down there if they don't handle their business. Us, I hope to think that we have a little bit more class than to boo our team and our coaches if we're losing to SMU or not playing well at home. But I understand why people will do that. Of course, I'm a Philadelphia person, so I understand the booing aspect of everything. But Ohio State does scare me that way. I'm not scared of our fans turning on us that way. But the Notre Dame Indiana game is going to be freaking great. Our game is going to be great. Clemson, Texas is going to be great. Ohio State, I mean, dude, this is what I've literally we have been waiting our whole lives for this. There are 12 programs out there playing for a national title that's going to take 3 or 4 games. 3 or 4 games. You and I have been begging for this since we were children. Joe Paterno was begging for this in 1966 when he took over the head coaching job here at Penn State. He was wanting this. He asked for this and wanted it. And, you know, how many times we get burned by it? Now it's our time to shine. Do you personally think we have the easiest route to the Final Four? I mean, I got to say, yeah. I mean, I think it's set up pretty good. But I can tell you right now, if we do lose to SMU and we do lose and, you know, beat SMU but then lose to Boise State, I don't think that's going to be a good look for James. And that's what we were going back to what we're talking about originally, and that is it a must-win for James Franklin? And I really, truly do think that, because I think that, you know, you can't turn on social media without his name just being like this point where everybody has an emotion, is very emotional about it. They're like, Big Game James, he's a fraud, he's this or that. But Tell me. I mean, he's got a better record than how many coaches in college football right now? And you've been harping on me for 3 years about it. Like, who are you going to replace him with? One. And two is, what has he done to get fired? He's winning 10, 11 games, possibly 12 or 13 games this year. And there are people going to be out there who are going to say, we need to get rid of this guy.
Yes, and again, that's the nature of fan bases.
Can't spell fanatic without fan.
Correct, and you want, and listen, you want the high expectations. Yep. I think that you also need to temper that with some understanding of the big picture stuff.
Do you have Ohio State friends?
Oh yeah,
they're done with Day. Win, lose, or freaking draw, man. They are freaking done with him. The 3 to 4 that I talked to. I mean, they can't get past
to the degree that they are almost rooting against their own team because they don't want to see.
You called that too,
Ryan Day. Like, I mean, if Ryan Day wins a national title, obviously you're not firing the guy. Now, could Ryan Day leave and kind of give what he no to the Buckeyes? Sure, that could happen. Now, listen, there are so many interesting storylines going into the playoffs, and as you said, this is why one of the reasons we've been waiting for this for decades. Many of us that have been advocating
and
for
we got
this.
2 weeks in between games to talk.
Yeah, because we knew this is the type of thing that would occur. And again, it's only the impact is only heightened because of all of the other elements we're talking about. Finals week, the transfer portal, the recruiting classes being signed.
Unprecedented.
There's still high school kids that are available that schools are after, including Penn State, trying to, all right, we're going to try to get 1 or 2 more, or maybe get a guy still to flip. All of those things in play. And all of this with the college football playoffs about to occur, and with 3 times the teams we've ever seen in the playoffs before. And so, yes, I think on paper at least, Penn State has the easiest path of the contending teams we would consider to be the contending teams to the Final Four. With that, I would argue Penn State probably has the second most pressure. James Franklin, more specifically, has the second most amount of pressure behind Ryan Day to get there, to make this. And again, when we talk about pressure and must win, I don't think James Franklin's in any danger of losing his job, even if they lose to SMU. I think the fact that they got in the playoffs, I think the overall big picture, and I could be, I mean, I don't know anything, but I would be shocked. And I not much shocks me. I would be shocked if James Franklin loses his job, regardless of what happens. Now, I'm not expecting them to lose, and I am expecting them to get to the Final Four. Ooh. So I don't think any of this is going to come into play. But I do think there's a lot of pressure, however they're using it, for James Franklin. Again, I think both inside that locker room and within Nittany Nation, within the fan base, it is going to be bitter disappointment if Penn State does not now get to the Final Four.
Everything
I think
home game.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And, we talked about it all year. The schedule played out in Penn State's favor. And again, you don't know when these opportunities are going to come around. And so you want to seize them. I go back to 2016. Penn State wins the Big Ten title. And I think a lot of us are like, man, could be the start of something really big here, meaning like a run of titles or, hey, well, again, it's 8 years later. We still haven't seen a second Big Ten title here under James Franklin. It took them the 8 years to get back to the game. So you just don't know. Again, maybe the opportunity comes around again next year, but maybe this is it. Maybe this is the opportunity. And because of that, you need to seize it. If you're James Franklin, if you're Penn State,
Yes.
you just need to. This is your moment. Take it. Take that moment. Beat SMU. Beat Boise State. And honestly, Goon, at that point, win that semifinal game. Again, it's Georgia, Notre Dame, or Indiana.
Buddy.
Regardless of which of those teams it is, different storylines for sure with any of them. But to me, as we sit here right now, that's a game Penn State's got to win too.
Yeah,
and then
after watching it at Oregon, I have a very good feel. I have a better feeling about it.
Well, I'm with you. And then you're in the national championship game, and it's like, well, if you're that close, for God's sake, just close the deal now. And it's going to be a different type of devastation, but it's going to be devastating to get to the national title game, have the opportunity at hand, regardless of the opponent, regardless of anything else at that point, and not be able to close it out. So opportunity, pressure, however you want to define it, just what an opportunity.
And then people are saying that we have the easiest route to the national. Think about this. Texas has got a battered Clemson team.
Yes.
Who just beat SMU. I get it. So I guess that's why. But it was a down year for SMU. I mean, for Clemson.
Yeah.
No doubt. So you get them, and then they win over Clemson, and then they go up against Arizona State, who won the Big 12, who nobody is saying what everybody the Big 12 stunk this year. It really was not good. I mean, your top two teams were Iowa State, who you and I were pretty bullish on throughout the year, but they were schizophrenic.
Yeah, the second half
they
of
were
the
completely
season,
nuts.
The consistency that was there, and
the whole
caliber of competition played into it for sure.
So Texas has got a pretty good route. They got to go through, obviously, got to get through the Oregon, if Oregon gets there type of thing. Oregon plays Ohio State second round? Ohio State, Tennessee?
Actually, yeah.
That's a hell of a second round. And Texas has got Arizona State, and Penn State has got Boise State if we win. I can see where people are upset about that. It is set up nice for us, but it is also set up that if we don't win, I think that Franklin will have unbearable heat on him.
Yes, it is. It's a double-edged sword because, yes, I mean, again, a great opportunity, but man, if you let the opportunity slip away, it just adds to the,
Jeff,
I think, the bitterness of the disappointment of not getting, I'm going to say at least to the Final Four. Yeah. But again, once you get there, looking at the different scenarios, it certainly would not be as bad losing to like a Georgia in the semifinals as SMU at Beaver Stadium, for sure. But man, it's a different type of disappointment. But again, if that happens, you will have defeated the two teams that you were heavily favored against. And, I don't know what the projected line would be for Georgia. I'm guessing Georgia would be a very slight favorite. And I think probably only a slight favorite because of the history of James Franklin and Penn State in those top 5 showdowns, and the history of Kirby Smart and Georgia in those top 5 showdowns.
Yeah, for their quarterback injury in there too. So that's going to play big in that line.
Yeah,
but let's also talk about, this came up yesterday, and what is the other knock on James? Bye week. Time to prepare. His teams are rarely ready to go in this and that. So somebody was talking about, next year we got to play Oregon after a bye and Ohio State after a bye because the schedule came out yesterday.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, we're screwed in this and that. So then I said, if that's what you're talking about here, we're going into the SMU game after 2 weeks. We have a bye going before SMU, and then another 2 weeks before a BYU game or a Boise State game if we win.
This is such a tricky couple of weeks, though. I because of, and again, it's not all of these teams, or at least most of these teams, are dealing with the same thing. But you have the final week of classes, and then finals week, and you're getting ready for the playoffs. Like that is, and again, along with juggling transfer portal situations,
the recruits coming in for that
recruiting. Yes, I mean all of this stuff is still bubbling there. Like this is as tricky a couple of weeks of from a coaching standpoint as I think you could possibly have in college football. And so,
who do you call?
it is going to be interesting to see, how Penn State looks, how SMU looks, how all of these teams look in these matchups, because it's a lot for these teams, for the coaches, but especially for the players to be trying to juggle, and then you throw in the logistics of everything, and I don't know. It's going to be fascinating to see how these teams come out. And the one thing for Penn State and for the home teams, I do think it is a significant advantage. Man, we're home. We can figure out the schedule. We can play around with some things, in terms of, hey, we can practice here or there.
It's not out in the weather.
Have our walkthroughs at different times. So I think in some ways even more than a regular season game, and not just because of it's December in Pennsylvania versus Dallas in December. I think because of all of the other things, like this home field really does matter in the postseason. We've been talking throughout the last few days, and a lot of people are thrown out there. What team is in the most danger of in these first four of being upset of the 5 through? And to be honest with you, I think Notre Dame's in the most danger. I think the 4 home teams are going to win, though. I don't think any of them are going to lose these first round matchups. Now, it's a guess, and we'll see what happens.
Fantastic.
Maybe next week we're talking about it. It's like, boy, should have seen that coming. The road team
December 12th, and we're still talking about college football, baby.
Yes, indeed.
This is exactly what we've talked about for 2 years since they started coming up with this talk, Ironhead.
We are
home games. December 12th, we'll talk about a home game. You're right.
Yep. We are coming right back with much more on this Thursday afternoon. It is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube in State College.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see ya in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
2 of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
Get up and get going with the Happy Valleys 98.7 The Fox. The Goon and Ironhead.
And we welcome you back in here on this Thursday afternoon. It's the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show.
Hello.
As we get ready for the college football playoffs and all that come with it. And again, there's going to be a lot of different storylines, a lot of different expectations, and that's really what, at the end of the day, all of this comes down to, right, is expectations. There's, SEC expectations, Big Ten expectations, the things I'm rooting for, the things that I think will happen, and then we'll see the things that actually happen. What I would love to see happen, Goon, imagine this scenario, and imagine being Paul Feinbaum having to go on and explain semifinals, Oregon versus Ohio State, and Penn State versus Indiana.
His ears would flap away, and he would fly away like Dumbo.
Well, he would say the only reason those four teams are there is because Alabama and Ole Miss were left out of the. Yep. If Alabama, we could have had a Lane Kiffin.
Replaced Georgia with Alabama and Tennessee with Ole Miss.
Anyways, as far as the. We talked a little bit on Tuesday. I think they got it right. I will be interested to see if and when they change the format. And I do think they're going to change, like having the top 4 conference champions seeded 1 through 4. I think that will change. But I want, if we keep the conference, well, actually, whether we keep the conference championship games or we just go to, hey, we have conference champions, which I think is going to be difficult. I've been of the mindset, and I think I still am, that we are going to get rid of the conference championship games. But I've been listening to some talk this week, and there are people that are like, they're never getting rid of the conference championship games because it's too much money and this and that. And
if it doesn't cost money on the back end, as in your losers get screwed out of the playoffs.
Well, so here's what I think I'm an advocate of is whether we keep the conference championship games or not. And I think the money can be made up with an extra 4 playoff games. So I still think we're heading toward the 16-team playoffs and getting rid of the conference championship games. One of the real difficulties, though, with that, and it's a difficulty even if you keep the conference championship games, is determining the conference champion when you have conferences as large as the Big Ten and now the SEC are, and for that matter, the Big 12 and the ACC. But because, again, if you have a year where your conference champion, right? Because you have to do it by record in the conference. Well, if your conference champion is 9-0, let's just say the Big Ten this year. Let's say Penn State beat Ohio State. You're going to anoint Penn State the conference champion without ever having played. Let's take that scenario. If you have 2 undefeated teams, again, you're going to have the conference criteria, whatever it is. But if one of those teams played the teams that were 3 and 4, and probably then that team would get it because of that's going to be part of the criteria. but let's just say that the other team blew everybody out. You had a couple close games. Again, different conferences have different criteria. It's just, the point is, it's really difficult to compare two teams when you only have a few games of common opponents. Again, it's one thing where, like in the AFC North, all right, we played each of these teams home and away. All right, you have a pretty good sample size there. If you're playing 9 teams and 4 of them happen to be having garbage years, well, that's a heck of an advantage for you on one hand. And again, even more so, let's say you do go 9-0, but you avoided the second, third, and fourth teams, and they all had 1 loss, and they're all beating each other up, and you don't have the conference championship. Well, yep, I just go in as a 1 seed. That is to be worked out, and all of that, I guess, will play itself out. But one of the things I would like to see is I still think you should get rewarded for winning a conference championship, whether it's through the regular season or
if they stay with the same criteria,
or if you have we're just awarding the championship for what you do in the regular season. But I don't necessarily want you. I want you to have a home game. So, like in that scenario, if we had 16 teams this year, Arizona State and Boise State would still be rewarded, but they would be the 7 and the 8 seed. Now, you're still going to have people complaining, and I understand it as far as it goes, but it's kind of, we see this in other sports, right, where you have divisions that are down in baseball or in the NFL, and it's like, oh, this team isn't as good as, yeah, but they won the division. Like, that should, to me, mean something. And so you're going to have people complaining, and there's going to be people that say, rightfully so, and that, man, yeah, we want just the top 8 teams being rewarded. It's just that there is no definitive top 8 teams. Like that's the problem to me. And so I still want those top 4 or even 5 conference champions rewarded with a home game, and therefore a top 8 seed. If we go to that format.
But what I'm saying about the criteria when it comes to the playoff, not the playoff, but the championship games, and that is if you're not going to hold, like we were not held accountable for playing an extra game versus a number 1 team in the country. And we lost to Oregon last week. That was not held over our head as a bad loss type of thing. You know what I mean? And they did the same thing for Texas, or they didn't take the conference games, title games. Now, yes, there is a lot of money in those, and they're probably never going to go away. But if you're 16-game scenario, are there buys?
No,
so there's no buys. So you can't have a playoff. I mean, a conference title game, and then right in the games. I don't think. But what you're saying is right. You remember the Rose Bowl rule when we started? There wasn't a Big Ten title when we played.
Yeah.
You remember what the rule was? The last team to have gone.
Oh, yeah. Well, if there was a tie.
If there was a tie, so Penn State and Ohio State, and they didn't play each other because there were still 2 teams that we didn't play. Whoever that team, there could be a 3-way or 4-way tie, they went to the team that had been the longest since going to the Rose Bowl was the team that's elected to go.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God it never happened to us. That would have been infuriating. But I'm with you. Yes. I honest to God, this past weekend was awesome with the conference title games.
It was.
It was very good.
I will say the closer we got to kickoff, the more juiced the fan part of me was getting about. Man, I want to see these guys win the Big Ten title.
I don't get completely jacked up for games. I was Saturday.
Yeah.
Just roll it out there, have some fun, and it's what we did. So, I don't think they want to go away from that because that is a celebration of the league, of the team. Of the teams in playing the conference title, and you do get a reward for winning it, that's fine. But if we do go back to the draconian ways, how are they doing 3-way ties? And what was it this year? It was Penn State, Indiana, and then our conference win percentage?
Conference opponents. Win percentage.
I mean, that's how they figured out that we won over Indiana. I mean, that's a little weird to me, but it is what it is. That's the rules, and you play by them. But I'm not going to, again, I'm sitting here. It's December 12th. We're talking about Penn State home games. We're talking about next year expanding. Well, they wouldn't do it next year, right? This is not This is going to be the same way for a few years.
Well, conceivably. I mean, I guess it's conceivable they could rip things up and change things for next year. That's not going to happen.
Do we have any idea?
I do think there's a possibility that following year, 2026, we could see significant change.
Total viewers for those this past weekend, did that come out? You're more related to it than I am.
Yeah, we did. The Texas-Georgia game was the highest rated game all season in college football.
Okay.
Which is
expected, yeah.
And so, and that's the other, I mean, I keep hearing one of the arguments has been that, again, too much money at stake, and the conferences aren't going to give up the conference championship games. It means too much and all of that. We'll see. I think they're going to be a thing of the past. But we'll see how that plays out. Money is obviously going to be a factor here one way or the other. I think at the end of the day, the 4 additional playoff games, and like one of the things that I think is happening now, I mean, I guess you want the bye, but I also think I think there are Oregon fans and Georgia fans in particular, like, man, we don't get a home game like that. How cool would it be to have a home game in our stadium? If you go to the 16-team format, and I know there's a lot of people thinking we'll go to a 14-team format, and maybe we will. But again, do you want your top 2 seeds questioning whether that's what they really wanted? And I think, you certainly have that this year, both because of the path that is taken, but also, again, you don't get a home game. You have to travel for all of your postseason matchups. Now, again, I think those teams will tell you that, we're okay with that. But I think the fan bases and like those communities, again, you talked about it, that the impact that this home weekend will have here on the local economy is not insignificant, especially when you combine it with graduation weekend.
I'll tell you off the air a story about
weekend.
A hotel room I heard about, by the way. I will not say it on air out of respect to anybody who's paid anything. This makes me ill.
But so I just don't think you want those to, well, do we really want to be, I mean, you want teams and everybody to, well, of course we want to be the 1 seed or the 2 seed. And I just think if you go to a 16-team format, your top 8 teams are getting home games in that first round. That to me eliminates that. And depending on what you do with the format, and I guess that's going to be the next great debate is, all right, do we just take the like you get automatic bids if you're a conference champion, but then we just take the top 8 teams. The problem to me with that, and there's problems no matter what you do, as we see, but it's subjective. I think Alabama would beat SMU on a neutral field. Well, I don't care. You thought that Alabama was going to smoke Oklahoma too, and Oklahoma smoked Bama by 3 touchdowns. We saw that one actually play out on the field. I really don't like the idea of, well, I think this team should be seeded 8 and that team should be 9. I would rather there be some sort of objective criteria, understanding that we had the objective criteria this year and none of us, I haven't heard anybody just praising up and down. Yep, this is exactly what we want. Arizona State is a 3 seed. Boise State is a 4 seed. Ohio State and Tennessee is 8 and 9 seeds. Like it seems like we have pretty much universal agreement. Yeah, this isn't quite right, but I don't want to flip it to where it's. I keep hearing let's just seed the top 4 teams right now, but if we go to 16 teams, let's just seed 1 through 16. Yeah. But then again, you're going to have the influence of the ESPNs of the world. And Alabama and Ole Miss are clearly better. They're not clearly better. That's the whole problem with the system. You're not going to be able to come up with a subjective way that guarantees, quote unquote, the top 8 teams are seeded 1 through 8.
Somebody's going to complain about everything. You know that. That's just just human nature.
And there is no way to do it where you wouldn't have it. I mean, no matter what system
you're going to have to sit there down there and say, okay, well, I mean, what screwed up? I mean, honest to God, I have to say this. 3 weeks ago, I thought I had a pretty good feel of the selection process of, what teams are eligible to go where with, there was the non-Power 5, the Boise State of the world. By them being in the top 10, not being outside of the 12, and then Clemson winning the ACC, I was like, why the hell is Arizona State in there? I get it because they're Pac-12, but why is Boise State there? Well, they're inside the top 12, but they're not 4.
Right.
It was just weird to me, but they were ranked ahead of Clemson, who won the other, and they take 5 title winners or 5 of the 7, 4 of the 6 or 7 title conference winners.
Yeah,
even until Sunday, I had no idea. I was like sitting there. I thought the ACC, the Big Ten, the SEC, and the Big 12, ACC, Big 12. I thought they were the 4, but then I started seeing projections, and I'm like, well, how the hell is Boise State there? And I'm like, well, they're not in the top. They're higher than the top 12s, and they won their. And I'm like, whoa, that got a little weird to me. I'm not upset how it turned out. Obviously, as a Penn State fan, I'm very happy with it. But I mean, I'm just happy it's happening. And people will complain about anything, as you well know. But the fact that we are finally doing this and it's 2024 makes me ill. I mean, this has been a 60 or 70 year issue. And then they were finally getting around it. And then I know we're in the sports talk radio, so the talking heads got to speak about something and they got to complain and they got to create controversy because that's what they do. But I'm hella happy how this went, all this went down, and how they were finally doing it. That's probably why I'm more happy about it. But I'm okay. We went into that game Saturday. I know you talked about how like Ohio State and Arizona State, they didn't get a home game. I mean, a little bit of me was like, okay, well, like I said, I thought going into that Big Ten title game was like, you know what? We have nothing to lose. We roll the ball out there. Just have some fun.
Yep.
Andy, go have some fun. And Kodoleki had a hell of a time on Saturday night, in my opinion. 500-some yards offense, 300 yards rushing, which was amazing. But if we lose that game, oh, well, then we have a home game. Ooh, 30. Well, we said $20 million, but now it's actually going to be about $35 million with all the pricing going up and stuff like that. But we couldn't lose that game. So, yes, I would be upset if we were winning and not talking. If we were just waiting for a bowl game, which is obviously a great thing. But I love the fact that we have a home game, and I'm not complaining about it in the least bit. But I can see where people are. But subjectively, to answer that question is you're never going to be able to do that. Until we get into conferences and say, okay, well, the Mid-Atlantic North is going to go play the SEC South. Until we start doing those, until we have that and have NFL-type playoff structure with the 2 different conferences going.
Eventually, what I think is going to happen is we've talked about this before, but I think we're going to get one way or another back to regional groupings.
Yes.
And so there will be,
I think it'll be less than that.
A northeast of the Big East, a northeast of the SEC, and you'll have 4 or 6 regions, and with 2 super conferences, and actually I think that'll be and then you can just take the top 2 in the 6 regions, or let's say 4 regions, top 2 in each conference.
But objectively, Alabama and Penn State would have possibly had a common opponent. There's a better chance of that if we're moving around every year and not playing the same 9 Big Ten team or not in the Big Ten.
Yeah, but I think it'll be more of an NFL.
Yeah. You're playing this conference,
where you're just now, taking
how many teams?
Be 16.
No, and that's playoffs, total. Yes, but I'm saying how many teams are involved in the super conference?
Who knows?
I heard something this weekend. They were down to 40.
I just read a story on the what this could look like, and it's one person's opinion on the so-called non-revenue sports. You can't really call them non-revenue right now. It's non-revenue, I guess, for the universities, but revenue's coming in for some of these student athletes in the Olympic sports at a pretty fast and furious pace. Not for a lot of them, but for some of them, it's pretty substantial. One of the stories that's just going to be riveting over the next few years is, yes, how does that part of collegiate sports play out? Because nobody knows, and there's all kinds of projections, and it is all over the place in terms of what that's going to look like, along with college football.
With that said, did anybody see Arizona State and Indiana being in the 12? Absolutely not. Because if we get on the 40, guess who was not going to be invited to that party?
Yeah,
Arizona State and Indiana. That's how I feel.
Yeah, Arizona State might, but I think you're likely right with Indiana. Again, we got to see how all of this stuff.
And I do think someone else is going to
out.
change. Looking at the top 10 or top 15 NIL teams, when do Miami fans get furious and say, we spent $25 million and we're not even going to play up? When's LSU people going to say that? And when's Texas A&M people going to get fed up with that? And say, I'm out. I'm not doing this over and over and over and over every year. Now, A&M's, 2-3 years at this now? LSU, they're 2 years into it. I mean, spending top money dollars.
Yeah.
And they're not getting in the 12.
Well, we'll take a break here. When we come back, we may talk a little bit about the Bill Belichick situation, because I was listening to Dan Patrick this morning.
Yep.
And Dan Patrick was saying that, listen, the pressure there is not on that significantly for Bill Belichick, because they'll celebrate. Like a 10-2 season would be a huge deal if he can get them there in a 2 or 3 year period. And I'm like, reasonably, that would make sense. I don't think that's where we're at right now in the world of college athletics. And especially, if you're North Carolina and you're looking at what Indiana just did, or you're looking at what Arizona, you're not bringing Bill Belichick in to go 10-2 and get to a really nice bowl game and not be in the playoffs. That is not what this move is designed to do. And I don't think the boosters involved there, to your point, Goon, they're not spending the money that we're talking about here, and they're just going to be satisfied. Oh yeah, 9-3 and maybe 10-2 and a third place finish in the ACC and not being in the playoffs. That's not what that's about. I think folks are underestimating across the board now. If you're a D1 program, kind of what you're in this for. We'll take a break here, and we are coming right back with more. It is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube. It is the place to be. Great food, great beverages, great service, and of course, you get to check out all of the great sports action on all of the TVs here at Quaker Steak and Lube as an added bonus. We're coming right back with hour 2 on the Sports Radio 98.7. The Fox.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing and State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
WFXS, the Fox, your sports radio. Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority, WFXS America. 98.7, the Fox, State College, the Goon and Ironhead.
Oh, those crazy kids. We are back here on a Thursday afternoon and loving life here at Quaker Steak and Lube. Great place to come on down and watch all of that college football playoff action as well as the NFL games coming up this weekend. That would include a little game in Philadelphia late Sunday afternoon with the beloved Pittsburgh Steelers taking on those Dirty Birds in Philadelphia.
Go Birds.
It's going to be an interesting game, dear Goon. Steelers, of course, have not won in Philadelphia in my lifetime. 1965, last time the Steelers won in Philadelphia. That's ridiculous. That needs to change. But I do think this game is interesting because of all of the locker room drama with the Eagles and because of the matchup with Saquon Barkley and that Eagles offensive line against the Steelers front seven. I think this is just going to be a fun game. I would love it. As we talked about on Tuesday, the dream of an Eagles-Steelers Super Bowl sometime in my lifetime. I would love to see it because this town, this area, State College, and the Penn State campus in particular, Goon, it would just be wild. It would be wild.
I think it would be bad. I think we'd have to have a draft. So me and my buddy Tommy did it one night, like 15 years ago. We were drunk one night. We were just hanging out saying, you know what? We got to break the bars up downtown. Like if this goes back to the Flyers Penguins.
Yeah.
Sorry, I apologize. Go back to the Flyer playing, but you got to declare which bars are for who when people are coming to town. Otherwise, you got some real issues. But yes, it'd be amazing. I think it would be absolutely out of control up here, and it would be bad, but it'd be awesome. But I mean, you'd have to bring the state troopers in on a Monday night for 7 straight days, 8 days straight. I think because I just think that the animosity and the love of each of their own teams would lead to just complete anarchy downtown.
Listen, I mean, I'm not expecting it, but I don't rule it out as a possibility this year. I'm telling you, if the Steelers keep getting better on offense, and they have been steadily improving, I don't rule that team out. I still would favor the Chiefs until somebody knocks them off, and I love that Buffalo Bills team this year and the way they're playing last week, notwithstanding. I am obviously be focusing on the Steelers Eagles this weekend, but that Bills Lions game is certainly worth a watch too, and could also be a potential Super Bowl preview.
Detroit,
really curious to see
they're going to screw something up.
How both of those teams, kind of respond. The Bills coming off of a loss, and the Lions now with expectations through the roof. Both of those games are going to be fun to watch. The Steelers-Eagles game, Goon, the late afternoon, I mean, that stadium will be
mayhem.
Well
lubed,
yes,
lubricated,
well prepared for enjoying or not enjoying whatever that game brings the fans' way.
So do you realize this?
Yeah,
I got the only animosity between the two teams is in-state college.
Yes. I don't know that that's true.
You think I go to Philadelphia and say, "Oh, F the Steelers," and people are like, "Well, I sort of like them. They're a Pennsylvania team." I'm like, "Well, then go to Penn State when you have to live with amongst each other."
No, but there's Harrisburg, Altoona. There's Eagles
Harrisburg
fans.
is every day. They got the Redskins. They got the Ravens. I mean, Harrisburg's done. Get out of here.
There's lots of Steelers.
No, but I'm
just there.
No, I know that they are. What, in Harrisburg?
Yeah,
there's lots of Steelers fans in every town.
Well, exactly.
I'm just saying, but there's not as much animosity in Philadelphia about the Steelers. Penguins, yes. You. Steelers, there's a respect for them.
Yeah,
I mean, we all grew up watching them back in the day, and we don't play every year. I mean, the Flyers and Penguins are in the same conference. That's why there's hate and animosity.
Yeah, even growing up, like Phillies Pirates was a big deal when I was a kid. And yes, Flyers
they
Penguins
moved them out.
Especially as we got into the 80s, there was just phenomenal. Early 90s. That was.
You might want to say 90s
stuff.
On that one because you did go a whole 12 years without winning in Philadelphia. No, but there is, like, people say Philadelphia's brutal to go to and watch games and stuff. I don't think there will be an issue with Steeler fans, to be honest with you, because there's not that much hate and animosity. There's not a Cowboys where you're not playing. I say all the time up here, like 15 years ago, like, how are people hating on Iowa fans at Penn State? You know what I mean? It's like, what did they ever do to us? Well, now, 15 years later, they knocked us out of the top 5 twice. There's the wrestling component to it. Yes, they are a rival. I hate them now. You know?
Yeah.
And that's if you play the Steelers and Eagles play. If the Steelers and Eagles play for the Super Bowl, there will be animosity to whoever loses because they'll be pissed off about that. But
wow, for sure.
I don't think there's that much hate. I'm trying to say there's not much hate for Pittsburgh and Philadelphia as you think. It's a learned response having to live with you people up here that you learn to hate the Steelers. Because of you people.
The matchup, do you think that the matchup in this game is that Steelers
whoever can run the ball?
Who
can run the ball Saturday?
Yeah, I kind of think that's
strength on strength, man.
Yeah. Although I'm telling you, I'm really intrigued to see what Russell Wilson can pull off here. The quarterback duel here is interesting for different reasons, but how both kind of respond here at this stage of the season. And listen, from the Steelers' perspective, this is such an important game because this 3-game stretch that we've been talking about, this is and this is not to say that the Eagles are they may be the best team of the 3 that the Steelers are going to face. But I think this is the game that the Steelers, at least on paper, to me, have the best chance to win simply because
they've had
the short week components to going to Baltimore.
Yes.
And then even though you're home with the Chiefs, again, it's on a 4-day break from that Saturday to Wednesday.
You've looked into this, obviously, because you're a Steelers fan, because has this ever happened before?
I don't
Three
know.
games in 10 days.
Yeah, I don't know.
That
And
is,
it's not just three
I'm not
games
gonna
in
say
10 days. It's
absolute
the Eagles,
bull.
the Ravens, and Chiefs. I
It's
mean, the team with the
ridiculous.
second best record in the NFC, the team that is your most
bitter rival
by a good measure these days in their place, and then the standard bearer in the National Football League over the last few seasons. So, yeah, I mean, 3 games in 10 days is brutal to begin with, but it's those 3 teams. Are you kidding?
I mean, we've been talking about that since the schedule came out, and it was just like, what is going on there?
Yeah,
I mean,
that
is ridiculous. And they said, oh, well.
Somebody in the league office.
Somebody said, oh, well, you know what? We normally don't play December 20th on Saturdays, but with these teams playing on Wednesday, we want to use Christmas Day.
Games. You have to play games on Christmas
It's
Day.
unbelievable, the greed. Player safety's first, Jeff.
Yeah.
We are all about player safety in the NFL.
Very, very big concern.
We are worried about the player safety.
Yeah.
We're going to give you 9 days, 10 days. You got to play 3 games.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I mean, players are complaining about having to play Sunday, Thursday, and the product on the field shows that. Never really good Thursday night games. You know what I mean? They usually have crappy teams, but, the last couple games have been really good, and they're not a good one tonight. But the fact that they're making them play 3 times in 10 days, and then it doesn't even play in it, doesn't even bring in the fact of who they're playing.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is a physical team. The Baltimore Ravens are a physical team. The Steelers are not going to be not physical with them. They're not going to play a finesse game. No, they're going to have a knockdown, drag-out fight versus the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday,
and
play on Saturday, and then play 4 days later against now I would say the newest dynasty in the NFL.
Honestly, the biggest concern. I mean, I want the Steelers to win all 3 games. Try to find a way to win at least 1, maybe 2, but. Honestly, it just feels like such a recipe for injuries. To your point, and Goon, you're at the point of the season, right, where everybody's trying to get healed up as best they can. I mean, you want to be as healthy as you can. This is such, and yes, more so because it's my team. But honestly, I would be saying this regardless of. I'd be saying this if this was the Cowboys or the Ravens. Like, this is not smart by the National Football League. It really isn't. Why are you setting a team up to have injuries? And again, maybe the Steelers come through it and unbelievably don't suffer any significant injuries that will affect anybody's postseason status. I will be stunned if that happens.
Does Kansas City have 3 games in 10 days too? They have to.
Well, they would have to, yeah.
So does
Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Have to. Who do the Ravens play on Christmas? I'm not aware.
Oh, okay. Maybe they're not playing on Christmas Day. That's the. In my head, I'm like, well, wait a minute. The team they're playing is going to be so Kansas. They're putting Kansas City in a hell of a predicament too.
Yeah, I'll check that one. By the way, speaking of things I checked, the Ohio State was ranked second in 2016 when Penn State beat them at Beaver Stadium. Going way back. That's out of nowhere if you're just watching or listening recently, but way, way, way back in the program, we were talking about that.
Yeah, sorry. So the Chiefs play the Steelers on Christmas Day, so they are both coming down at the 3 games in 10 days. You're having 2 of your top AFC teams doing that. Good Lord.
Yeah, just I don't know. It's just not
pure and simple
smart by the NFL. And I don't. Do we really have to have
Christmas
NFL
Day
games
football
on Christmas Day? That just seems not necessary.
I have an honest question. I'll find out. But do players get more money for doing that, or are they just contracted
there
for
has to be some kind of
playing on Christmas, playing on Thanksgiving?
There has
and stuff?
to be some sort of a bonus for doing that. There has to be
interesting,
something stipulated there.
What? That's just. I mean, we have said it, and you have said it. I have said it. Everybody has said it. But the NFL is just greed. And they're just trying to monetize as much as they possibly can on a Wednesday Christmas this year.
I just
and,
think,
and you're putting two of your superstar teams in a real predicament. You're going to like Patrick Mahomes. You know what? And he gets hurt.
If you are going to do that, right? If you're like, nope, we do have to play on Christmas Day. Why would you not set up the bye weeks so that you give the teams that are involved there that
a
week
little
off,
something?
Yes, beforehand. Like, would that not make a lot more sense than?
No, but the rationale is, well, they'll have a 10-day break before their next game, Jeff.
Yeah.
There's your bye. There you go.
Yeah.
We're going to completely break you down in 10 days, but then you have 10 days to recover before we break you down again.
Well, yeah,
agreed, buddy.
It's not good.
It's bad news.
Not good by the league. Penn State basketball losing to Rutgers the other night. I mean, good. Rutgers, I mean, it was ridiculous how good they were for that stretch on the offensive side of the floor in particular. Sometimes it's like, man, that stinks, but
salute.
Yes.
Good job.
They just couldn't miss. I mean, it wasn't like Penn State bad defense or man, it was Rutgers night. Still very high on this Penn State team and what I think it's going to accomplish as the season unfolds. Need to take care of business here in the 3-game stretch before returning to conference play, and I think they will. Still like overall, and actually like the way they came back and made that a game. I really thought they were on their way to sneaking one out, and I'm like, whoa! If they had, boy, would that have been just huge here in terms of heading into the rest of the season. We talked about it a little bit beforehand. I don't think the loss there. You're going to lose road games at some point in the Big Ten. I don't think that's a devastating loss. By any stretch. Again, it would have been a great win to get under your belt. I think as it is, you're in good stead right now. And I think, again, no reason to change the overall outlook for what this team can accomplish throughout the season. And really excited to see what it's going to accomplish throughout the rest of the year. Penn State Wrestling, of course, getting ready for Wyoming, which will be visiting on Sunday. That'll be a 1 o'clock meet now at the Bryce Jordan Center instead of Rec Hall, as we've been telling you throughout the week here. That is to accommodate the NCAA regionals in women's volleyball. Penn State will face Marquette in the Sweet 16 on Friday. If you're parking for the Friday afternoon, go to the Penn State website is the best I can tell you. It is a convoluted mess.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you make it better. I mean, but it's a mess. 1 o'clock, again, Texas and Creighton will square off. And then Penn State and Marquette will face off a half hour, probably somewhere around 3:30, give or take a good bit there. And then the winners will meet 8:30 Sunday night in Rec Hall for the right to advance to this year's Final Four. Good luck to Penn State.
Yeah.
They are well positioned here to make a real run at a national title here this season.
How are they handling the ticket conversion from Bryce to BJC for wrestling?
They reissued
available.
They reissued the tickets to the ticket holders so that you have a new ticket for the Jordan Center. And yes, there's additional tickets. I don't know if they've made all. I mean, I guess if they had the influx, they probably would make the whole arena. My guess, and I probably should have made a call. I didn't think about it till just now, but my guess is they're going to just put the curtain up on the top, and there will be additional tickets.
You know the number
sold
with the no top?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
That would be
know.
the easiest thing to do.
I think it would be
convert.
10,000-ish.
Yeah,
would be my. It's got to be somewhere in that neighborhood.
So this will be
the upper.
We're
seats.
wrestling Iowa and BJC.
And
January 30, and Michigan. Okay.
Yep, the following week.
How's Kale with that? He likes to wrestle at.
Yeah,
the kids like to wrestle BJC.
They're good. Great opportunity for the women's volleyball program, and a big deal for Penn State. So yeah, they're all good with that. Yes, go Birds.
What happened to
for you, from Johnny Broom? You aware of the new
I don't know
meaning
what
of the
that
term
means.
goon? I don't know
That
either.
sort of scares me, but
And good luck in the fantasy football playoffs.
Where are you at, Jeff? Are you playing?
To you. We've got to get to a break.
Jeff, again?
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
You're not last, though.
Lots of other exciting sports.
God,
we have Army
Jeff.
Navy coming up on Saturday.
Can I help you with your fantasy?
We'll have live coverage. Nobody can.
I
we'll
can
have
help
live
you.
coverage. Nobody can.
Yes.
Army Navy, Saturday afternoon.
You're
live
still
coverage,
dressing Rex Grossman on your fantasy roster.
starting at 2:00. I think he's in for a big year. Next year is going to be Rex's year.
That's Sexy Rexy's year.
2:00 Saturday
Love
afternoon. We'll have live coverage of the Army Navy game here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox, and
one of my favorites, bro.
Yeah, it is. It's special stuff. And listen, with the season both of those teams had this year, this one should be a little extra fun. And I tell you, Army, it's obviously the ultimate rivalry game. I think Army is Navy is very good. I think Army is actually good enough that it should have been bordering on a playoff team.
Yep.
I don't know necessarily that it's one of the 12 best teams, but I don't think it's too far off.
They play Tulane on Friday
this year. Yeah,
they undressed them as an underdog.
Yes, no,
they whooped them.
Shellacked them pretty.
Captain America playing quarterback. I love that name, man.
Impressive.
He's a big boy.
He is a very big boy.
You ever go? I mean, we talk about this all the time. Have you ever gone to one?
No. Would love to,
dude. I love watching it,
but no, never have.
Is it on CBS like it has been in years past?
Yes.
So then CBS Sports, like 2 hours before the game, they have the introduction and the marching of the corps and cadets into the stadium, and that is my favorite part. And usually it's in Philadelphia, so it has a little something to me to watch, or something inside. But I've always loved the weather. I mean, these guys are walking around and it's like snowing.
Yeah.
12 degrees out, and they're walking around, and the everything that goes into the Army Navy game is absolutely amazing.
And Penn State hockey tonight playing Army West Point in our nation's capital.
Did you see that uniform?
For Penn State.
Oh
yes.
my God, it's the greatest.
Honoring
Michael Murphy.
Yep. And yes, very, very.
I sent that to
cool.
our Navy SEAL friends, and they were both like, "Oh my God, that's awesome!" Because they knew Mike, and they knew Rutt, who made the presentation to the team. So I called Guy, my friends Hawk and Trumpy. They both were like, "Where can we get one of them?" And I called Guy, and I said, "Guy, what's the word on that?" He goes, "They're going to be auctioned off after the game."
Is that right?
Yep. And I was like, "Well, dude, you got to get me on that because I know these guys." Because that. I mean, I got a little shake going right there, little goosebumps going on, because when we did that room presentation for Rick Slater over the Veterans Center at the old, what the hell was the old hospital on campus? Well, they converted it into the Veterans Center now, but Rittenhour. So we have the Rick Slater room in there. So he had some friends come up, some of his Navy SEAL buddies, and I've gotten to know them pretty well, and they were all very, very taken aback. Took them to see the Michael Murphy, not statue, but monument on campus. They were both, it meant something to them because that's a guy that's sweat and bled and died with them, and as part of them, a part of the teams and stuff. But they were just they were just like, I can't send this out to enough of my friends right now. The whole video of Rutt and how they introduced. And did you see the thing right here, like the emblem on right in the middle of the shirt it actually is the logo of the Congressional Medal of Honor, which Michael Murphy had won. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Probably the coolest. It's easily the coolest hockey jersey I've ever seen. But that, for a nostalgic type of thing, that is one of the coolest jerseys in general I have ever seen.
Yeah. No, it's going to be quite quite the opportunity for Penn State and quite the game of meaning here tonight for the Penn State hockey program. We'll take a break here. We are back with more of our Thursday edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show right here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fall.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing and State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
Get up and get going with the Happy Valleys 98.7 The Fox. The Goon and Ironhead.
And we welcome you back in here on this Thursday afternoon. One final segment before we launch into the 3-day party weekend officially getting underway tomorrow. Again, Penn State women's volleyball hosting the NCAA regional finals. Semifinals will be tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, Texas versus Creighton in Rec Hall, and then Penn State and Marquette will square off a half hour after that one ends, likely somewhere around 3:30. And then Sunday night, 8:30 in Rec Hall, the winners will meet for the right to go to the NCAA Final Four. And, of course, Penn State football continuing to prepare for SMU in the school's first ever playoff game and, of course, first ever home playoff game That'll be a noon kickoff a week from Saturday on December 21st. And we touched on it earlier. The schedule now is set for Penn State football next season. They'll start with 4 home games, so they will not be on the road until week 6 in early October at UCLA. Nevada, Florida International, and Villanova, the first 3 games, all at Beaver Stadium. Nevada the last Saturday in August, and then the first 2 Saturdays in September, FIU and Villanova, and then the bye week, and then Oregon on the 27th. Dear Goon, that has to be the whiteout game, right? Like I know Fox they have to get that figured out so that is, and when I say whiteout, I mean night game, not whiteout at noon for the big noon kickoff. One way or another, like the Big Ten, Pat Kraft, James Franklin, they go win the national title and flex their muscle a bit and get that as a night game and the whiteout game. Because if that's not the whiteout game, and if we're in agreement that the whiteout game has to be a night game or at the very least a late afternoon kickoff, but really it needs to be a night game.
Sure.
Then that has to be it. Like you have to figure out how to make that the Peacock or NBC, would be NBC game, and not let Fox make that the big noon game. Because here are your other options then. If we're in agreement that for a real whiteout, you can't do it at noon. I get you can, let's do the noon or the whiteout and big noon kickoff against Oregon. That's not a whiteout then, and not really. Your other options, though, if it's not, again, late September, perfect. Oregon coming in for the first time as a member of the Big Ten, possibly a rematch of the national title game here at the end of this season. Who knows? All of the things that are in play there. I mean, that has to be the night game or the whiteout game, because if it is not, your other options are Northwestern.
No.
Come on. Or November games against either Indiana or Nebraska. Now, either of those games would be okay for the whiteout. Matt Rule and Nebraska coming back in. Indiana coming off the season it has. But November. Night games against Indiana or Nebraska.
A night game.
Oregon.
Oregon
in late September.
November 22.
That needs to be.
They could have a whiteout versus Nebraska. It's senior day. Game starts at 3:30. Well, let's get back to this. So normally how it works is they alternate what would have been ABC and Fox, but now it is Fox and CBS and NBC.
Yes.
For the day and night games, correct? Of who gets what game?
Yes.
So whoever has the first pick this year between those 3 networks will always pick Ohio State, Michigan. And historically, it was always Penn State versus either one of them or, as the next 2 picks or something like that.
Yeah.
But now you throw Oregon into the mix. I mean, Ohio State can become a pretty good rivalry right there. So that may be it. Well, until we play the national title and beat them. And then definitely we're making that a night game. But
there you go.
Yeah. I mean, in my head, I'm just sitting there thinking like, wow, with Oregon joining USC, Washington, UCLA, did we take a little step back on that pecking order when it comes to like the top games of the week type of thing? Well, we can complain all we want, Jeff.
Well, yeah.
Ohio State played 5.
Right.
They played the last 5 games of their season at noon.
Yeah, what do I care? That's
we get upset when we got to play it 3 times.
Well, yes.
Have you seen any of the numbers of the breakdowns of viewership for Fox and then the ESPN game day?
And listen, I mean, again, Indiana, Nebraska, you don't want senior day to be the whiteout, though. Like, that's not.
You don't want senior day to be a night game either.
No.
I don't think. Do they
really
have a
it's,
night game November 22?
Indiana would be the other option, which had to be the 8th, I think.
Yep.
I mean, I guess
we could be playing Indiana to get into the Final Four.
Yeah, you can roll.
Could be a big budding rivalry, you know.
End of September, Oregon, 8:00 kickoff.
NBC should just put all their ducks in that basket and say, that's the game we want.
How cool would that be?
Absolutely. By the way, did you see my Facebook post on Saturday night? I had a pretty good one. I was sitting there. I was 3/4 into the bag, and I was like, I'm looking at the highlights of Oregon through the year and stuff like that. I'm like, what in the hell? They have 12 different helmets, 12 different jersey combinations. And you know what I said? I was sitting with a bunch of people. And then one of the girls, one of Carrie's girlfriends that was with us, she was like, you know what? It's like they wear costumes. And I was like, you're right. And my comment on Facebook was, we're Penn State. We don't wear costumes. We have uniforms. And I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
So I'm just bringing this up because I saw Puz got put in the Hall of Fame 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
And he had an interview and he was looking at the picture and he was talking about it was his All-American picture. And he goes, just straightforward. This is what I love about this is not just that I'm All-American, my All-American picture, but just look at that uniform. White pants, blue jerseys, white helmet, blue stripe.
You know,
simplistic
right away.
And that's my argument. And I had 15 people at my house Saturday night. And these girls were like, well, what do you mean? I think it's pretty cool that they have all these different uniforms. I said, Oregon looks like a bunch of idiots. But if that's what they want to do, that's fine. I say, and this has been my adage forever and ever and ever, is if you turn a game on, and I'm telling you, I have done it so many times this year, turn a game on, and you can't tell who the teams are by just a quick, oh, that's USC, that's Alabama, that's Ohio State. And I told my brother-in-law, who's an Ohio State fan, I said, I freaking hate when they wear those black uniforms because your uniform is so freaking iconic. It's so recognizable as Ohio State. You don't need to do that gimmick stuff. I mean, we have the throwback uniforms and stuff like that. I get a little, I don't know. I was told, by the way, they are going to go back to the kept sleeve and neck for the throwback jersey. Because that's all we got of the 90s players. It was the white tubing around the sleeve. And it was 90s tubing. I was like, oh, wow, they roll them up anyway. You can't see it. So I think that the salute to generations is going to go back to the white collar around, which we had worn in the 90s, which they'd gotten away from. But that is my thing. I mean, you watch a Boise State game, and I'm like, who the hell is that? Who's playing out there? You know, they got like 19 different uniforms, the silver helmets, and then Oregon's the worst. Maryland's the worst. It's just keep it simple, stupid, and that's what I love about Penn State. I've always loved this, the simplicity of our uniforms and the simplicity of us. It's beautiful.
Sure. I completely agree on that front. Couple of players for Penn State up for various honors tonight. Tyler Warren better win the Mackey Award. I think he will.
Yeah, Orlando better burn if he doesn't win the Mackey.
Man, that's that seems like the surest bet going into the evening. Nick Dawkins is one of the 3 finalists for the Warfel Award. Yes,
the good deeds, like the guy who's off the field.
Yeah, it's a combination of good sportsmanship on the field. And being a leader on the field, and yes, then community service and making significant contributions off the field. And then Abdul Carter is up for the Chuck Bednarik Award as the Defensive Player of the Year, one of the 3 finalists there. So something to watch for tonight in the college football award show. Home Depot.
Sorry. Nick Dawkins will be down at We Are Campus Steaks on Saturday afternoon. Actually, Landon and I are going to go down with the old school, new school, and they're having a toy drive. So he wants to bring a toy down in between 3 and 5 at We Are Campus Steaks for the Dawkins Family Foundation. I don't know if you heard it. We had raised money at that last tailgate we had, and we raised close to $800 for the Dawkins Family Foundation.
Fantastic.
Just passing the hat around, and he's such a likable guy, and you know what he's doing. I mean, Jeff, I tell you, I sit down and I interview him, and I'm like, keep talking, dude. I just want to hear you talk. I mean, he's so well-spoken, so well-thought, and his drive to help others is pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, the only downside with they have got to figure out somehow
his hair color
to get a little fire in him before games begin. If he could just open up to his teammates and maybe express a little bit of passion or enthusiasm. They'll work on that. I'm sure. It's
so one of our sponsors, Ann Lusk, who's the realtor in the Lancaster Lidditz area, as well as up here now. She's a big sponsor of this show and of the Players Show. She was the honorary captain for the what was our opening game this year at West Virginia. She traveled with the team on the buses, in the hotels, pregame meals, on the sidelines, pregame, during the game, all of it. And she just sat there and I could not believe that I'm talking to these guys the day before, and they're these well-spoken gentlemen, and they're doing this and doing that, and they're doing this. And she says the transformation that takes place from getting off of that bus to when they get on that field. And I'm like, it's pretty violent on the field. She goes, I've never heard or seen anything like I did that Saturday. And I'm like, I'm sure you heard some stuff. And she goes, I've heard that stuff before. But she says the noise of the hitting and just how fast and explosive and just how, just like you were just talking 10 hours ago to me about how, you're this and that, and you're literally trying to kill somebody out there. I'm like, that's how football is.
Yeah.
It's just like, and I'm sure it's the same way with wrestling. You have this Cale Sanderson guy who's probably one of the nicest human beings I've ever met in my freaking life. And I sit there and talk to him, and I'm like, dude, you're like the nicest dude ever. You're like a straight killer, though. You put them on that mat, and they're straight killers.
Well, and as intense as it is at the collegiate level, I'm telling you, good. If you ever get down on the field, I'm talking to not you, obviously. It is hard to understand how unbelievably violent the collisions are in the NFL. And again, college football, I mean, it is.
Yeah.
But as you're saying that, I'm just thinking, man, if she goes to an NFL game, I mean, when you're watching on TV, it's like, oh yeah, that guy hit him. That was a good hit. When you're down there in the field, you're like, my God, how did that guy I'm not talking about like one of these highlight. I'm talking about on just a routine play.
He's not moving.
You're like, how did he not just break 6 or 7 bones? No. And it's every play is like that. It is hard.
And that's out in the
for
open.
Those of us that have not, and I have not obviously gotten anywhere near that level, but I've been been down next to the field a couple of times. I am telling you, that is, and yes, college football, I've actually been on the sidelines, and it's attention getting. What happens in the NFL is truly mind-boggling, and I don't know that translates very well on TV, like just how hard those collisions, the routine collisions in the NFL are.
And I think, as much as you and I hate these safeties hitting wide receivers, that needed to get taken out of the game because, I mean, you were taking some of your best players out. Now, with that said, I think we're taking way too much lenience and way too much padding the quarterbacks. I know that they are the reason the games are being played, but it's just so they could get hurt every play, in my opinion. If they played the way they used to, with the lifting and driving into the ground, where it was, you had coaches saying, I mean, I forget what was his name, Greg Robinson. If you cut the head of the snake off, the body dies. Yeah, like what are you talking about, dude? You're talking about going out and hurting people, man. And that had to get rid of. But you and I, we missed that. But if you watch some of those old hits that went on back in the day, and you're just like, dude, it can't happen now. I played 25, 30 years ago. It's twice as fast now, and that's scary to even think about. And it gets faster and faster and faster every year.
Yep. No, it's bonkers. Horace Light, Oregon misses Ohio State and Michigan next year. Again, this is going to be the. This is what I was saying earlier. It's just the quirks of the schedule, and you're not going to be able. Again, Penn State missed Oregon and Michigan this year. Michigan happened to be down, right? Like but you're. Same thing in the SEC. Like some teams, you're not going to have even schedules, and even if you attempt to, right? Like you're just not, because different teams, again, trying to even a schedule this year, you're like, all right, well, we'll give you a bone and give you Indiana. Whoops. Here, we're going to give you a tougher game. We'll schedule Michigan. You're not going to know 1 year to the next.
Whatever happened when I played, when you literally just inverse the schedule from 1 year to the next, where if you played Ohio State at home, the next year you're away. Michigan home, Michigan away. Oregon home, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
they know there's so many teams now. You got to get them all playing each other.
I mean, Penn State was playing mostly the same teams, and where like Alabama would rotate off and Nebraska would rotate on. You picked up in the same vein, or Notre Dame, or whatever it was. But you had, you kind of knew, all right, the home and away. It was basically, even though they were independents, it was a conference.
No, when I played, that's how our schedule was. My 93 and 4 schedule was completely inverse of each other.
Well, you had 11 teams.
Well, that's the thing.
You have now you have 18 teams, so you have 17.
Every team on your
teams.
I think what they said they try to do is each kid that comes in will play at every university. They will play, like say you're from Washington, that you will play Washington at least once or twice in your career. And with 18 teams, that changes a whole lot of stuff up.
Yeah.
It just stinks we got no Michigan again.
Well,
but my buddy made a point the other day. I think I said it Tuesday. The way Michigan was playing late in the year, dude, that was a team. We talked about it Tuesday. The defense, how well the defense played, but their offense was still lacking.
Yeah.
Oh man. So what do we got? This Army Navy. Well, what are we betting Friday, by the way, for Sunday? I mean, I like the shame stuff. I like the food stuff. I like the booze stuff. What do you think? I got Alan I got Alan ready for a case of beer. What do you want to do? A bottle of wine, case of beer.
I'm good with either of the above.
I'd say more popcorn because one of those bags went missing.
What? How did that happen?
I don't know.
It's amazing.
You see me all day picking my teeth. I don't know why. It's like kernels in my mouth.
That's just bizarre.
I don't know what that's all about.
That's very, very strange. We'll get investigative authorities on that. I have a friend with some drones in New Jersey. I'll just have them.
There we go. At least we know somebody who knows where they are, who they are.
That down, huh?
A box of Black Box Cabernet Sauvignon. It's $24 at the liquor store.
All right.
I'll give you 2.5 points. I'll even give you points.
We'll do it. Well, I'll take them.
2.5.
If you're offering them, I'll take them.
That's pathetic.
Penn State wrestling team, just real quickly on
they're not good, Jeff.
I really do think that, because I don't know what the future is here for just Olympic sports in general. I'm concerned about it. I'm hopeful, and I think there are some things that could pan out where it's. I'm going to miss these days, and I don't mean Penn State wrestling. I mean the days of having the many teams in many different sports competing all across the country. I don't think we're long for that. I think we're going to have fewer teams. I think there will be better teams. And again, it's. I think we've talked about this before, but like men's gymnastics, there's a relative handful of teams, but all of those teams, I mean, the worst team in NCAA men's gymnastics is like, good Lord, you have guys that are contending for Olympic spots on those rosters. So I think that's kind of where we're headed. We're going to have many fewer programs. what I wonder about is with the schools that drop varsity programs in men's and women's swimming or track and field or baseball or wrestling, hopefully we still have like club sports where like there's still opportunities for high school kids who aren't quite good enough to get D1 scholarships, especially if those scholarship opportunities are reduced, to at least still go out and compete at a fairly high level. And again, I always go back to like club rugby at Penn State, or when they had club hockey before the hockey became a varsity sport. Like those are, they're not varsity sports, they're not scholarship sports, but man, like there have been some big time athletes that have come through the rugby program at Penn State. The hockey club was winning national titles, and again had some studs come through. I'm hoping that we at least keep that semblance of collegiate athletics viable and maybe even stronger, so that at least there are those opportunities for kids to continue to compete after high school at the collegiate level. And again, I think there will be some opportunities in all of those sports collegiately, but it's not going to be, I don't think, anywhere near the numbers that we currently have. I hope we keep kids engaged at the high school level and seeing that there's still educational / athletic opportunities, even if it's not, you're one of the 40 lacrosse teams or whatever it may be that are competing at the highest level collegiately. You still have a chance to go out and get some really good competition, some really good experiences. I'm hoping that's how this plays out if in fact the expected drop in varsity sports occurs here in the coming years. And that seems almost inevitable to me. I really hope I'm wrong about that. I don't see how the numbers add up where you keep the same number of varsity programs across the board in all of these sports.
Saban was making a point of that on Game Day the other day, saying how it's up to each university to see how much they're going to fund their different sports, and we have 29 or 31, and Ohio State has more than that.
Yeah, and you're already seeing, they're getting ready for cuts or have made cuts at some of these schools in terms of what the schools are funding, and it's like, all right, if you can figure out how to fund yourself, and again, some will be able to, some will have big alumni donors that, my gosh, whatever I need to do to keep it going, and others it's just not going to be viable, not going to be possible. All right, that's going to wrap things up for our show today.
Beat it.
Let's go Steelers. Get it done here on Sunday.
Birds.
We will be back on Tuesday to talk about Penn State women's volleyball's Final Four appearance, which we'll be getting ready for next Tuesday. We'll be getting you ready for the Penn State SMU game. We'll be talking about the Steelers win over the Eagles and much, much more. Huh?
Night.
What? Something like that. Until then, be good and be safe.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing and State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
WFXS, once again, your sports radio.
Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority, WFXS America.
98.7, the Fox State College, the Goon and Ironhead.